That's only on YouTube. I don't know. I don't hear it on Spotify anymore. Anyways.
I listen to it on YouTube, so I always hear it.
Yeah, so what were we talking about earlier? About reality, right? Is digital reality more real nowadays than real reality? And what do you call real reality? Is it human reality? But what is human reality? I'm just confused.
Man, we just jumped right in.
Talk about 0 to 100.
I'm not emotionally ready.
Yeah.
I was gonna go with the digital reality being like not real the real reality because it didn't come until 4,000 years later until now until the present century, and so I guess the reality would have to be the one that came first.
Yeah, but nowadays people are spending more time on digital than the real reality. So what becomes more real is where you spend more time on it.
I would say well then that would be like, is reality based upon the human interpretation of it, like how humans view reality? So is it what humans go towards? Is what people go to? Is what makes things more real, or the reality of which things are being lived, or is the reality the stage or the time of where it occurs and how it started and came about? So like,
is reality and relative the same thing?
It might not be reality, but it definitely has a sense of relativity. Like, you could argue that in a sense it's more realistic of who the person is in VR, because in VR you don't have, in a sense, the same moral consequences as you have now. So in a sense, you're more free to act, in a sense, purely on free will without fear of consequence. So, someone who is inherently violent or something, or vulgar, would suffer consequences in reality, in real life, in the physical world. If you call someone a name, you're going to get hit in the face.
No.
But in VR, in a sense, you don't have that guideline. So in a sense, the unchecked nature of a person can be seen a lot more. And, people who are more, who just, who decide to follow Christ and who are moral and choose that, they will remain that way in the VR, because, it doesn't matter whether you're here, you're in a virtual reality or in a game, you still practice that. So in that case, in VR, it could reveal, in a sense, a more truer aspect of a person. So in that case, you could say it can be seen as more realistic, but simply in that matter. So just a random.
Yeah, I'm confused now because
I'm just so lost. What is real?
That's your question. What is real, and what makes up the human
that's
person?
What I was saying right now. I thought like reality and like relativeness have become like crisscross on people. Like worldviews are just like so confusing now, because people are just like, what's relative to my life instead of what's actually real. So it's like we react. Man, that is hard. We react to what we find relative to our lives, and then if it's not relative to our lives, we just shut it out and we just think that's wrong and that's just false. So it's like truth, reality, and relativeness has just become all this tied up bunchness that I think is just confusing the living hell out of people.
Yeah, and the whole question is, what is real nowadays? Like you said, it goes back to relativity, right? It's so because weird. if I feel like I'm a dinosaur, then I must be a dinosaur.
Yeah, or I'm a dog.
Or I'm a dog.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a Walmart shopping bag.
Yeah, but then it goes back to the truth. Like, no, the truth is you're a human.
That's where I think the reality goes to. It just goes, you just go back to God, as people just being beloved children of God, and that we are all destined to go to heaven, or that is our planned destination, or that's where I hope we're trying to go to. And there's a lot of things, means, sources that we have to help us, to aid us in our own area, and so it's looking at digital reality of what it really is. Well, it's a tool that was created by man, and it can be used for the greater good, or for something that's not going to bring us closer to God, because a lot of tendency we can be very distracted with electronic things. We can get our minds off on focusing on what's really important to us, what's important to our lives. As me being a seminarian who came from Bishop White in Spokane, I have to say one of the graces of I've received is understanding, understanding means of what our sources of what help us gain ourselves closer to God, and then taking what did God give us, such as the sacraments, to help us stay in that reality of who we are as beloved children of God. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah, and so how do we live this human real life and not the digital life to which many people are spending more time on, right? So just because you spend more time in the digital doesn't mean that it makes it more real than the real world that God is trying to invite us to live in.
I think it comes to the longingness. It's fine. I got the two mics going.
Sorry. Oh, it's good. In that case.
Hopefully they're picking you up, man. Yeah,
I think it goes like the longingness for God. Sitting. Prayer is just the longing of God or for God, and so it's like I think our world today. Your question of how do we keep the digital world tied with more real spiritual world is, I think it's to keep that longing for God in all of those things. So in VR, in social media, in
Right.
I don't know, any other digital medium that we're consuming ourselves with now and like gratifying ourselves with, it's how are we keeping that space a spot to where we're still reaching for God, we're still longing for God's presence in those things. Our world today is so, it's all gratification, quick gratification. Whatever makes me feel good in 30 seconds is what I'm going to do over and over and over and over and over again until I just don't care about it anymore. It's becoming, I think that's something I think we got to open our brains to a little more and more to understand that it's not something we want to do 30 seconds to feel good, but we're actually searching for something. We're searching for something beyond that, but we're using that thing to kind of settle our nerves. And we stopped pressing on that journey to search for more and more. We're just going to live down here now for a while. And it's like there's going to come a time again that we're going to break through that again and find that longing and find that actual purpose again. I don't know when that's happening. It kind of seems like that's on the verge these days because everyone's going cuckoo cuckoo. But yeah.
I like that cuckoo cuckoo.
The cuckoo clock.
Yeah, the cuckoo.
The cuckoo clock.
Yeah, so how do you unite everything together? Because there's such a duality, or there's such a huge gap that is kind of creating, and there's an expanse where people aren't bridging that gap, but there's that divide between what is real and what is not real is growing bigger because people would rather be on digital than in real life.
Especially like deep fakes now. It's like you can have just some random person talking to you and it's not even the person.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Even
AI.
AI.
It might not even be a person at
Yeah,
this point.
it's literally just not even a person. You seen those videos? It's like it'll be like a daughter like doing a video call to their parents, and it's like, this is actually not me. This is a complete AI version of me, and all these things. And it's like, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
It's scary.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to tell like what's true and what's not now.
Yeah,
like you can use that to rig, politics and things like that.
I'm not really here.
Mm-hmm. Or can you have like a digital girlfriend?
Oh yeah, there's just something I just learned about that. It's a Japanese culture. Hiki Kame. I can't. Oh my gosh, that's. I can't even believe I tried to even say that name. But it's this crazy Japanese name, starts with an H. But it's like 500,000 young adults and 500,000 like older people out in Japan right now are struggling with this, and it's become like a disorder pandemic out there now. But people are literally locking themselves in their rooms longer than 6 months, not going out for anything. Like they're living in their parents' house, living in their rooms, not even coming out for water, for food, to even just grab something from their kitchen or anything. They're just living in their rooms completely, where food is just being brought to their door and they're opening it and taking it and closing it. Yeah, for longer than it's like I guess
prison at that point.
Yeah, that's a prison.
It is. It's crazy, and like that's what they're doing. Is some of them are starting to have girlfriends now on video games. So they have video game girlfriends, not people like interacting through. I'm talking about something that's actually built inside the video game. That's their girlfriend. And so they're doing stuff like that. So that does exist now.
Yeah, it's like a modified AI.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
No. But how do you have a wholesome relationship that way? Like,
Well, you don't. I mean, you just don't.
yeah.
You think it like goes back to my point of like you think that's something that you actually want and like, oh, that's the answer, but there's gonna come a time where it's just that doesn't suffice and that doesn't last.
And then again, that comes back to your point of that instant gratification. Like they're not willing to go and put in the work to talk to people, to learn to socialize. They just want the instant gratification. Okay, just a simple download.
Oh yeah.
And you can have a girlfriend, you can have virtual kids, you can do this or that. So
that's what's happened. I mean, I've been reading or just like watching a lot of like Christopher West, and he like really does a lot for I guess you call it like the sexual world.
Yeah. Theology of the body.
Yeah, theology of the body and all those things, and it's like he's been talking about that a lot of just like we have taken like erotica and like those kind of things, and like you can actually have an erotic mind in the spiritual beauty of God, but we have taken it, our world has taken it to that instant gratification moment of, hey, let's sell it. And it's like it's destroyed the model of what it is actually meant for, and it's it's just fascinating because like we're looking at these things that we think are worldly, and it's like, well, they became worldly, but there's actually a reason for them. There's actually a godful like filled reason for these things, and we just like took advantage of it. It's kind of crazy.
So pretty much trying to get to that means without God, you get this corrupt.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah. I love corruption.
So how do you know what is real and what is not real? If you live in that digital world, like, and when you face the real world, how do you cope with reality?
I think it goes down to discernment. I mean, we are discerning even in ourselves every day, just in our inner selves. It's like, how do we think what is real and what's not real? How the heck do we know what's God's voice and what's not God's voice? How do we know those kind of things? It's just that simple idea that's happening inside of us that we got to take out into everything that's happening coming into us of just common easy discernment and just faith and just hope that what we do is what we do, because I think your question has the answer of like we just don't. I don't think we don't know, like we don't know. It's just hard, it's too hard to know the absolute, because I mean we don't even know the absolute to most things.
Yeah, because people don't like the truth. Right?
No.
There is divine truth. There is divine order.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But they like to create their own truths that conform to their own understanding of reality.
Yeah.
They like to become their own God at the end of the day, because it is only myself that I like to trust and believe and love.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I open the Bible, no, it's too heavy for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. He's requiring me to sacrifice too much.
No.
It's not valid. It's written by man.
Also the destroying too of like family unity, family society in our world. That's happening in. Someone said that. What is his name? Matt Fradd, but he was talking about Australia, and he's like, it's crazy because he lives in the United States now. But he was like, when I went over there and visited the other last time I was there, last couple times I've been there, people I know, people that are just out in the streets, like. Their families are all just completely falling apart, like divorce, affairs, all these crazy things. But he's like, but then you look out in the streets and like the cities are all nice and clean and all these things. And he's like, it's the point he's trying to make is like government has been trying to destroy this family model so we can lean on government more and not the family model and like the family morals that come with those kind of things. And he's like, that's what's happening in Australia is their government is sound in keeping things nice and tidy and nice and clean and really in your business, but the cost of that has been focus on the individual and leave family behind. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening here. I mean, we have just focused on the individual for some time now, and like, look what's happening. People don't even want to hang out with their family. Like, they don't even want to go to dinner with their family.
It's true. It's true.
It's crazy.
No, it's true. There's like this awkwardness too, coming together as a family.
Oh yeah.
And talking about family, you both came from a very big family, or come from a very big family.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many siblings again?
There's 11 of us total. So
that's crazy. You guys gotta add a whole religious movement with your 11 apart. You're missing one, but it's alright.
11 siblings.
Our own cult over there in Ohio or something.
Yeah, that's right. Religious order.
It's wild.
Our Catholic Amish community.
What part of Ohio are you from?
We're from here, but the majority of them are over in Steubenville.
Oh, Steubenville. So that's awesome.
Around there, that Panhandle, West Virginia, Weirton kind of area. So
I always want to go to Steubenville.
Yeah, I got to visit that place in December for my vacation trip, and they have a nice settlement over there. It's really nice. They're really gathering the Poland clan over there because they have another big family of Polans who are over there as well. Of our cousins and their cousin and their kids. They have kids as well, and so yeah, there's a giant Poland.
Building an army over there.
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty rare nowadays to have 11. That's like a really Catholic family.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
They're definitely open to life.
Oh, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's nice to have. It's nice. You know, it's really nice. 6 sisters. And then
5 boys.
5 boys. Yeah.
How do you guys deal with like getting along, like having a big family? It's different. Like Joe said earlier, like sometimes you go in a family, it's like there's this awkwardness. Like, how do you guys get along with one another? What do you guys do to get along? Yeah,
Well,
just like,
so here's the thing is that it varies person to person.
okay.
But also, like, I think a part of it that did help was that we were all homeschooled together. So in a sense, from growing up, you had to learn to get along with others, with people with different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you'd have a grudge with them, and they'd be doing school right next to you, and you just wouldn't be able to function. So it just kind of forced you to learn, okay, whether you're right on something or whether, okay, for the sake of peace, I'll learn to listen, or I'll bunker down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that just helped us a lot in terms of learning to get along and see how our relationships with each sibling is different and unique in its own way. So
yeah, and I'll just say faith. Just growing up in the faith and going to mass every day and praying and letting God's grace just be present and learning to get along and talk out situations and. Yeah, I think those are all really just that's God's essentially the strongest element that was there, and we're really fortunate to have such good Catholic parents.
And being homeschooled, what was that experience like? Because I went to public school all my life, and it's rare to meet somebody who was homeschooled. It wasn't until I became a priest that I met a lot of people who were homeschooled because being priest, a lot of families don't want to send their kids to a secular place, right? Because there's so many different temptations and things that are not in accord with our faith, right? So they kept you into the homeschool setting. Do you think you guys have advantages, disadvantages of being homeschooled, or?
Well, while we were homeschooled, I think it built some good relationships amongst the family and building that community in the family. But at the same time, we had a lot of sports and a lot of activities that were out with friends, where we were able to make friends. And then we also had a homeschooling co-op, Fun Fridays group, so we got to know other homeschooling families as well. So there wasn't a time really we didn't have communications or ability to talk with other people. Our mom and dad were able to get us into sports and get us into activities, get us into different co-ops and different groups. So we had our ways to meeting other people as well. So. And meeting other good Catholic families, other good Catholic homeschoolers, and building in that good tight relationship with everyone.
Yeah, I've always liked I wasn't non-homeschooled either. I went to public school, but I know me and my wife, like, thinking of a future kid, it's like, do we want to do that or just a private school or homeschool? Those are kind of like the two options these days. But it's like, I like the homeschool atmosphere because we walk past this house. It has 2, like maybe 3 sons, I think, that are homeschooled, but they always just like, they're out doing all these like good wholesome things. This little 8-year-old's out there mowing the lawn and doing all these things. So I think you build a stronger mindset in those kind of things. But you're also building like what her concern was like, I don't want my kid to not be like social or to be the weird kid because he's not talking to people.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't think so, because I mean, like what you said, like the sports and the different like hobbies you can do outside of school. I think it opens them up to build friendship, not in an unhealthy way. Right. I think in public school, we are so quick to latch onto our little clique, and then we have to survive in that clique. And how do you have to survive in that clique? Well, you got to do the things that they do, and that's where that temptation comes in, all those things. And it's like even high school sports were just, oh my gosh, so unhealthy. And it's like we had so many people that were at our school but would do sports outside of the school. And it's like, growing up, I started to understand, like, okay, that's why you did that. Because they were, it's crazy. High school sports are just so unhealthy. It's crazy. If I was president for a day, I would get rid of high school sports and make kids have to go do sports outside of the schools. Vote for Joe, 2025.
Mr. Joe Bedard. President Joe Bedard. But yeah, it's crazy. I think it's even gotten more crazier nowadays, right? Because a lot of things that they're teaching are not healthy.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not even true. Right? Maybe there's a lot of misconception of lies, or maybe their own agenda too, right?
Well, it's a mix of that, and then it's like the teachers just have no passion, like they
That's
just
true,
lack that.
yeah.
My dad was a teacher forever, and a couple years before he retired, like he started seeing that like change in his school. He was like, it's just sad.
Mm-hmm. And then the teachers though that do have incentive and are passionate about it, like, just it could even be like non-religious, drive for it. They just genuinely want to help kids.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just so many things in society that are snuffing that out.
Mm-hmm.
There's no incentive. They're not getting paid enough. So in a sense,
Yeah.
like why, they just have no voice in it. So
Yeah.
And when you separate God, you can't even speak about God.
exactly.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Yeah.
You can't
Right.
talk about God. You can't, address
You know.
he or she anymore. So I can't teach you calculus or anything like that.
Exactly.
If we're worried about someone with their gender identity
Yeah.
because you accidentally
Mm-hmm.
said she when discussing a problem, like
Yeah, and you get fired.
Yeah.
Or you get reprimanded for saying something that
or you get
against
severance
that person.
or things like that. Just makes it difficult.
Yeah. So what's the answer? Have school in the digital world. Right. Put on a Apple Vision and have school there and teach them
Oh, gosh.
under the vision.
Mm.
I'm not gonna lie, that'd be kind of cool.
Right. I'm thinking about it. I'm like,
Just picture in my head, like sitting at a digital desk right now with the people.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Like I could do it so long as I have a digital screen in front of my head.
Well, I mean, they have that new adapter thing where you stick it on so you can walk around,
Oh yeah.
and then if you talk to someone, if you're in,
It's
it'll
like
show your eyes
$5,000,
through
I
it.
think. We should buy one.
Yeah.
Somebody should donate us one so we could test it out.
We wouldn't get anything.
Hey, donation options, by the way. We have our DDF, and then we have a.
We're test driving for the seminary.
Hey, someone's
Put
gonna
them
do
in
it.
digital scenarios, like church scenarios, as seminary
Yeah.
become increased.
Yeah, that's true.
We're gonna sell this. We'll
That's
sell
right.
it.
Mass
Well-
training simulation.
That'd be pretty sick. Confession simulations.
Dude,
What the heck?
Yeah.
that'd be awesome, man. Even though we can't absolve you because you gotta be in person, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I know, but I just mean like simulations for them to practice, like doing confession. Like it's not real.
Look what do you do if
It's
someone says this or do that, especially like in an environment like California
Yeah.
where you can literally hear almost anything. Like,
That'd be sick.
Or
Like-
do catechism class.
yeah.
What's that?
It's a class where you learn about the teaching of the church and
Yeah.
what we believe in. But yeah, so digital world, it's scary, but there's a way for us to evangelize, right?
There's always a way to evangelize. I think that's the keyest point, and the keyest, the best point in all that is like there's always going to be drama, there's always going to be turmoil, there's always going to be suffering, and whether that the creation of the digital world, like it's here now, and we can either take it for what it is and make it better and find the presence of God in it, find the wheat in the weeds, or you can just sit back and just let it run all over you. I mean, just with like AI, we were talking about the other day, it's like we can either grab onto AI, learn what it's doing, and like train it for our benefit, or we can just let it go and have a nice day, and then we're 10 years behind while everyone else are pushing their agendas and pushing their messages across the world, which are just causing chaos. We can jump on there too, learn about it, and spread goodness through it instead of letting all the bad information take control of it.
Yeah. So building a healthy relationship in the real world and having that as a fulfillment, of course, and then spending a little time on the digital world to evangelize what you experience.
Yeah.
Right. But I think
A good balance.
it couldn't work the vice versa. Like spending more time in the digital world
No.
and then taking that into the reality,
Mm.
right? Because why? The digital world isn't real.
No, it's not real.
It's
And
not
like
real.
I think people learn that very quickly if they're like giant, super into the digital world, and they come out into the real world. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't talk to people. And it's like, well, I wonder why. Like, you don't practice that.
That's true.
You definitely practice getting engagement on social media, though.
That reminds me when I was younger in high school, we used to have AOL instant messaging. I don't even remember that AOL instant messaging.
Yeah.
And that's when like the texting age was like really, really popular. And I was in a relationship, and all we did was texting more than speaking in real life, right? Yeah. So I was thinking like, oh man, she's the one. She's the one. She's great.
I love her.
She understands me. She's empathetic. I'm like, how do you feel all of that through text?
She has great grammar.
Yeah.
The grammar is sublime.
Her response speed is
And then when we actually spend like a whole day together, we're like, you're not the one.
Well, that's what jeez. I think you just described like Tinder was created, man. I think you literally just described that.
Dang.
Because that's what happens. People just don't want to connect in that deep way anymore because they're so used to just connecting that way.
It's easier.
Yeah. It's superficial and it's just it's very shallow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So what do we do? Moving forward? Moving forward, what do we do?
As a seminarian, wanting to become a priest, what do we do? What would you do going into your first parish to maybe use digital media to help that future parish, help the lay people that are just waiting for your leadership? That's a big question.
That's a big question, yeah.
Let's run the ideas for that.
Give me one idea.
Well, for one, it would just be how. Well, a lot of people like using digital stuff, but I would like to be able to create a way so they can know like the functions of the parish, like the ministries. Like imagine if there was like a site, like you usually just like like you get the app on your phone and then it shows you what ministries are going on, or like I was thinking like a youth group page, imagine like a youth page or something like that, and you had like frequently asked questions answered by Catholic youth, questions that are going on. And then you have videos, about, answering different questions or going through, just music ministry or something like that going on. But it makes a welcoming platform for somebody to look at this and be like, oh, this is what Catholics are doing nowadays. This is what how parishes are functioning. And you just see joyful, spirited people and you're like, I want to be part of this. I want to be part of this. And then they see the contacts, they see the people who they can communicate with, and they get over there. So, like in a sense, like giving them a bulletin, it'd be like the bulletin. Of the parish.
No, I love that idea. I've had that idea for a minute now. And I think just because it's like, I think it's important in our world today, especially like young adults and stuff. Like I think that's the new movement kind of happening in churches around us. We're trying to make it not so much of a space where you have to come in and learn something and get sat down and listen to a 45-minute talk and then just have a nice day. Hopefully you got the message. But more of like, it's about building that community so people know that they have people around them that are thinking the same, feeling the same, and want the same. And it's like, we don't, me growing up, I feel like, I was always kind of involved in youth ministry, so it was kind of fine, but I would always do youth ministry and then go to my other community outside of church. Right. And it's like, I think it's so important. That's where digital media can come in, is because we can build that community to be more than just inside the little parish hall.
And it's in the website thing. The idea is that it's not saying the show giving you a place to be on and to be at to see things, but it's telling you about a place where you can go to be in community with other people.
Big giant call to action, basically.
I like that a lot. I think we talked about this, and your idea was
forever ago. Yeah, I want literally what you just said. That's kind of wild that happened. I was like, I want an app where it's like, you pop it up like Google Maps, or like iMaps, and like here's all these parishes, and you click on that parish, and you see all their ministries and everything they offer, and you find the parish that's good for you.
I mean, initially it's the same thing as Pokemon Go, where you have all the Pokemon gyms. You can click on it and see all who your gym leaders are and the functions of that gym.
You should do a Saints Pokemon Go where you hover your phone around and you see the saint in real time right there.
That's actually awesome.
That'd be kind of sick. Like right now, like you could scan the room and like, oh, there's St. Paul on the chair, and you capture St. Paul. And then you click on it, and it's like,
Or we give St. Paul AI. And you're communicating with St. Paul. He's
Yeah.
answering
No, but
these
then
questions.
might
But now we're
people
taking-
try to tweak it up a little bit.
Well, then I'm scared. I don't want people to, like,
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's,
That's
where you
the-
put
you
parameters,
see, that's again-
right?
That's again the danger part. Like you create a digital
Because people
a
get
digital
fooled, yeah.
gym, you created a digital place, and the idea for the digital thing is it's so then you can attract people to a real place with the real people, with the real area where people can open up a book, talk about saints, to sit down, to have a different chat about that, rather than
That is true.
I want to learn everything from this phone, rather than I want to talk with you, Father Hal, and let's talk about the saints.
But I'm scared of real people.
We could have.
Real people. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to live in a world where people are there for that stuff.
Like, I'm afraid of answering real people, so I like to talk to fake people because I don't have to like read their emotions, their response to the gestures, and I don't have to respond to them.
But then again, that comes to the instant gratification, not working for the knowledge that you have.
Yeah, Father Hal.
I like that.
I do like the Pokemon Go.
Yeah, I do like the Pokemon Go.
I would do like a very quick parameter of it, of like it could like have that saint just kind of tell them a little bit about themselves, but then it's a want to learn more kind of thing.
Oh yeah, but like,
And then it sends them to what.
but
they
like
can
instead
do
of
there.
like catching Pokemon and stuff, like they can like have a bunch of ministries or like churches, like where you can click on the church, and a panel of different things that are available there.
It'd be cool.
Would be helpful.
That's
So
a really cool idea.
I mean, but like digital wise, like the programming is all there, so it's not like you have to create groundbreaking technology or
Yeah.
reinvent the
No,
wheel.
you
in
just,
terms,
you just gotta create it, which is the hard part.
Just gotta do it.
Yeah.
We gotta find someone. You develop apps.
Yeah. Father Michael.
I don't know. I don't know how to do that yet, but I'm
I'm
sure
pretty sure
there's
there's like
some
a 15-minute
talented
YouTube video that can show you.
Figure it out.
people that, yeah. Search everything on Google. Google will tell you how to do it.
There's so much things. There's so much things we can do. It's just like, how do we gather people, professionals, to be able to help us?
Yeah.
Well, that's you bring out you find an idea, you work on it, you bring the question towards other people, and you see who can give you feedback and who can support the idea and bring it into life.
I like that. Very good. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for the invitation to be on the podcast. Thank you for the invitation to be on the podcast.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. We didn't know what to expect, but I think
No, it's fun.
the invitation today, Joe, you want to sum it all up for us? Because you're good at that.
I want to sum it all up, but I think that's okay. I want you to do one more thing for me. Because I think we have moved in a direction for this show to kind of promote seminarians and what they do. So I think just leave a last little message. Something you want people to maybe think about when they think about seminarians. Something they want to pray for seminarians.
Seminarians, we all have our own different lives. We're all discerning a vocation towards the priesthood, and prayers are most needed. And seminarians are people too. So we got our own hobbies. We got our own things that we like to do. We like having discussions that are like this, and we like to do it all for the greater glory of God. And so prayers on keeping our minds and our hearts focused on God every single day and applying that to our daily. Beautiful daily.
Seminarians are people too. Priests are people too. I'm a person too.
Yes,
and we
we're
all
people.
share in the love of the digital world as much as it comes with some caveats, but to just remember to keep the digital world just digital and not your reality. And so find that reality, find that longing for God, find the wheat inside of the weeds. And with that, we say stay fresh.
And stay faithful. God bless. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you. Hopefully that wasn't too painful.
No.